Okay, let me start by asking you this. What if I told you that one of the most jaw-dropping moments in WNBA history wasn't about basketball at all? It was about a collision, literal and symbolic, that exposed cracks in how we talk about race, accountability, and power in sports. Let's unpack the DiJonai Carrington Sophie Cunningham incident, because trust me, this isn't just a story about a foul. It's a window into something way bigger. First, the basics. Carrington absolutely launches herself at Cunningham during a fast break, makes illegal contact above the shoulders, gets ejected, and then pulls out her phone mid-game to tweet about white privilege. Wait, what? That's not a reaction to getting penalized, it's a full-blown deflection strategy. But here's where it gets wild. Instead of criticizing her for shifting blame, the WNBA media machine starts making excuses. ESPN's Andrea Carter literally says, "This is just what Carrington does. Like, we should normalize dangerous plays because they're part of someone's style? That's not analysis, that's enabling." Let's pause here. What stands out to me isn't just the hit itself. It's the immediate rush to absolve Carrington. Think about this. When a white player commits a similar foul, do we get the same chorus of understanding? Or do we default to outrage? Because I'm telling you, if the roles were reversed, if a white player had tweeted about black privilege after decking a black opponent, the backlash would have been nuclear. Yet here, the narrative gets twisted into a racial grievance Carrington created, and the media buys into it. Why? Because the WNBA's brand identity is so tied up in progressive politics that accountability gets sacrificed at the altar of optics. And don't get me started on the Cunningham angle. This woman has been vocal about protecting women's sports from transgender athletes, something that puts her at odds with the league's official stance. So when Carrington's hit happens, I can't ignore the elephant in the room. Is Cunningham being targeted? Not just by Carrington, but by a system that rewards players who toe the party line. Let's be real, Caitlin Clark got death threats for less. But Cunningham's activism makes her a lightning rod, and suddenly Carrington's actions feel less like a random mistake and more like, what? Exactly? A warning shot? A distraction? Now let's zoom out. This isn't Carrington's first rodeo. Remember when she punched Caitlin Clark in the face during the 2024 playoffs and then mocked the backlash online? Zero accountability then, either. So what's the pattern here? A star player repeatedly gets away with dirty plays, and each time the conversation gets hijacked by racial politics. It's like the WNBA's version of the boy who cried wolf. Except instead of wolves, we're talking about systemic bias in real time. And every time this happens, the league's credibility erodes a little more. Here's the thing people aren't saying loud enough. Player safety should be non-negotiable. Period. It shouldn't matter if the offender is a fan favorite, a political symbol, or whatever narrative they're selling. But the second we start rationalizing violence as aggressive defense or competitive fire, we're setting a terrifying precedent. What's next? Charging for a layup and accepting a forearm to the jaw as part of the game? If the WNBA wants to be taken seriously as a premier league, it needs to enforce standards consistently, not bend them for players who play loud and dirty. So where does this leave us? With a league at war with itself. On one side, performative wokeness that prioritizes social justice optics over actual justice. On the other, athletes like Cunningham who dare to challenge the narrative. And in the middle, fans who just want to watch basketball without feeling like they're drinking from a fire hose of propaganda. Personally, I think the solution starts with honesty. Admit that Carrington's hit was inexcusable. Acknowledge that Cunningham's activism makes her a target. And stop pretending that bias only flows in one direction. Because until we can talk about these issues without fear of being canceled or worse, ejected, we're not really watching sports. We're watching theater. And I don't know about you, but I didn't buy a ticket for that.